Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Dr. John Michael Salvato, the Punk Monk, your organic living and peak performance coach. And today on the 200-day Mindshift Mastery Series here at the Barefoot Millionaire Mastermind, we are talking about the butterfly effect. And I'm really excited about this topic because it's one of those mind shifts that really gets people thinking, really gets them excited, and starts to spur some deep insight into other ways in which that beyond what we're going to talk about today, in which they really do have an impact on the world all around them. There's a scientific theory that's known as chaos theory. It's a mathematical theory, really, that's used a lot in determining the weather and sort of those sorts of things. But basically, it's the same thing as what we call the butterfly effect, and that is that recognizing that the velocity of the movement of a butterfly's wings is such that it might seem insignificant. That butterfly's flapping its wings and feeding on pollen, or flying in your in your yard. But what we don't always understand, what we don't always recognize, is the movement of those wings has a ripple effect and can in fact be directly responsible for creating a tsunami. Now, the butterfly effect is just such a powerful idea because, right now there are people who will be watching this. Some, maybe perhaps, some of you guys here today who think that you're not important enough to change the world, that what you're doing couldn't possibly change the world. We look at the economic situation, we look at the political situation, what I can hardly call a situation, just this climate of insanity, and say, well, I'm just one person. How can I change the world? But I want you to understand something, and this is the key behind today's mind shift. By being here today, you have already changed the world, because being here, entertaining these ideas, recognizing the truth of the butterfly effect, will have an impact on thousands of decisions that you're going to make now and in the future. And it's going to have an impact on thousands of actions that you're going to take now and in the future. And every one of those actions changes the world. So right here, right this moment, we have just changed the world. And that's why it's so important to live in the moment, to be fully present and mindful in this moment, because in this moment we have the power to change the world. And that power, that influence that we have, it extends beyond your actions, my actions, your thoughts, my thoughts, your beliefs, my beliefs. Because you see, when we act from a place of power, when we recognize our ability to change the world, when we truly understand that we are magical beings, that we have that power as alchemists in this world, then others are going to respond to our beliefs, to our actions, to our state of empowerment. And when they do that, when that happens, then others will begin to change the world as well. So we can have a powerful impact. And that's why I tell people that whatever the economy is supposed to be in your geographical region, in your country, in your city, in your household, the truth of the matter is that your economy is personal and you're in control of it. So the economy of the United States has nothing to do with my economy. The political situation in the United States has nothing to do with my success, my life, my ability. Now, it may impact my freedoms and push me to a point that I have to make decisions about how I'm going to protect or preserve those freedoms or surrender those freedoms. But ultimately, the power still remains with me. And so we extend that to the business world. The actions of your company, if you're with a company that says, no, you're not allowed to do videos, no, you're not allowed to have live webinars, no, you're not allowed to talk about or post pictures of the products. Now, it would seem that would have an impact on your business, but all it does is have an impact on your need to make a decision. And the decisions that you make will have that ripple effect. So when things go wrong, for example, with me personally, having gone through that situation of dealing with those unscrupulous business partners, didn't just affect my relationship with them. It also affected the relationship of 100 people in our organization with them, because I shared what happened with my team. The leaders were all given access and were privy to the breach of contract that took place. And they in turn talked to their teams, who in turn talked to their teams. So that ripple effect happens in everything. It happens in your family. If you wake up and you make the decision that this is going to be a good day, and you're not going to allow anything to steal your peace, your kids are going to respond to your demeanor. Your spouse is going to respond to your demeanor. On the other hand, if you wake up and you're in a stressed mood and you're not in a positive space, your children, your spouse, even the family pets are going to respond to your energy. So today we make the conscious decision, the mind shift, to recognize that we can, and in fact already have, changed the world. And so we make a decision to responsibly do that for the better. So that is my message in a nutshell, and it's astounding to me that something that big and that powerful and that exciting can be conveyed in 5 minutes. But it's so simple that I don't know any other way to expound upon that, other than thinking about the butterfly effect. Or if the butterfly effect is too abstract for you, and there's a great movie by the same name, by the way, and a book. The book is remarkable. The movie is a fictional account based on the book. But if you throw a pebble into a stream, that pebble will create ripples. Those ripples will affect not just the stream, but the river, not just the river, but the ocean. And so it's really, we've heard that the ancient saying that if you move a grain of sand, you change the entire seashore. And that's what this is all about. So I'm going to open up the lines for you guys. Jen, I don't know why whenever anyone else talks, it echoes in your situation. It seems like it's like just Google Plus is messing up on the settings. So that's why I have to shut your speaker off when you're not talking. So just so that you know, it's not that I don't want to hear you. So if I shut you off and you want to talk, point to your screen so that I open you back up again. So we'll go ahead and start with you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
And trust me, I sometimes I don't want to hear what's going on in my house either, so it's all good. Right now I have 3 teenagers and a toddler in my house, so I'm ready to just go live in the shed right now. But I was first introduced to the butterfly effect actually through Jurassic Park, because Ian Malcolm talks about it. The butterfly flaps its wings in Tokyo, and in Central Park you get rain instead of sunshine. That was the only part when he started talking about the chaos theory and fractals and everything like that. That was the only part of geometry I actually understood, because it made absolute sense to me that one thing triggers another, and such on. And it's absolutely true. It does not take much. You wake up in the morning, you stub your toe, and it's, kind of law of attraction at this point. You stub your toe, and you're going on about it, and then you burn yourself with the coffee pot, and then you spill your coffee, and then you drop your keys, and you slap your head on your mirror, and it just keeps going, and all because you stubbed your toe. And it doesn't take much to flip it around and sit there and go, okay, I stubbed my toe. Let me sit down. Let me take a breath. It's going to be okay. I think right now, with, like you were saying, with the climate and just the atmosphere going on, especially here in America right now, if everyone just sat down and took a breath, the winds of change might go through with all these people breathing and just sitting there going, dude, we need to just settle down, calm down. It just would take one person. And I've been seeing a lot on social media of, the one cop sitting there, giving out hugs. Or, it was over in Oklahoma. where cops went to a Black Lives Matter rally, and they wound up having a barbecue, and it looked awesome. I kind of wanted to be there. It was great. So it really doesn't take that much to just make that one little step, because that one step is going. Other people are going to wait for someone. I mean, who's never been to a club and seen an empty dance floor? And it takes just that one person who's had enough shots to get out on the floor and be the first one. And then everyone starts getting out there and having a good time. I think we just need more people to take that first step and go out there and be that change. And that's all I got.
Right on. See, I so love when you guys are here, because it's one thing for me to share some of these ideas from curriculum that has proven itself to be so valuable to us and to some of my students and the participants of the program over the years. But it's when you guys bring that kind of reflection and examples from the real world that really makes this rich, that really makes this worth it. So I thank you, Jen. Ita, let's hear from you. And I'm not sure why we're not getting your video today, but that might be you're on a different device.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I'm on a different device, and yesterday and the day before, actually, John Michael, you were repeating every time. It was a constant repeat on both on your video, but yet when Sandy came on and when Jen came on, they weren't repeating. So, but today now it's grand. So just thought I'd let you know that. Could have been the weather.
I think it's Google, because it happens every single day for me with Jen. If I talk while her mic is open, it repeats.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with Google Plus. I know that social media is talking a lot about some issues that they're having, and there's no rhyme or reason. Like, we can't figure out how to fix it.
I blame the Pokemon. So the butterfly effect. Now I I will go over this video again, because just to imprint it in my mind, because I've never heard of the butterfly effect, and I never heard of the movie. So it'd be interesting to watch the movie. But from the gist of what you're saying and what I'm picking up here is, like, in the business, in my business, our leader sort of has encouraged us to the give back. To what is it? Give back. Basically, pay it forward. Sorry, yeah, that's it. She's used the pay it forward, which basically is that you're doing something for someone else that you don't know, totally, the total strangers. And I've read also about, in America, there's a pizza place that every customer comes in and they buy a slice of pizza extra, and that would be for homeless people. And then there's the coffee one as well that I've read about as well. And I'm guessing that sort of, well, that's where you're going with the butterfly effect when you're talking about it there. About doing things, and like Jen brought out, about doing things, and it has an effect that you don't actually see later on. Now, I know the give it forward, you do know there is an effect later on type of thing for it, but I will research the movie and see if I can watch it while I'm away, because I'd never heard of the butterfly effect movie. So I have to research that and to get into my teeth into that, into what you're talking about, basically. But that's what I'm picking up from today's Mind Shift.
Let me thank you for that. Let me try and do a better job of explaining it. It's because it's not quite what you're thinking. The movie itself is about Ashton Kutcher is in it, and it talks about, like, he's a college student or a college professor, and he gets headaches that are so painful that he blacks out, and while he's unconscious, he travels back in time to difficult moments in his childhood.
I heard about that movie, actually.
Yeah, and then he can also look at the past of his friends, and recognizes how changing the past can dramatically alter the present. So the idea behind the butterfly effect is that when the wings of a butterfly flap, they move the air around them. And moving the air around them might move a tree branch. Moving that tree branch might cause a leaf to fall off. That leaf falling off might fall into a pond. The pond moving can start an effect of a ripple, which then becomes a wave, and that wave continue. If the circumstances are all correct, the idea is that little thing could cause a tsunami. So it's not quite like Pay It Forward, where you're actually it's not about taking the actions. It's the butterfly effect is just understanding that everything that you do, everything that you think, and everything that you say has an effect that is far greater reaching than we perceive. That's and it comes from the idea that in mathematics, the study of fractals, the study of weather, the study of I really am not a math guy, and Craig is still at university right now, so I can't even ask him for a good example. But it's a mathematical theory called the chaos theory that as if the further away in time you go, the less control you have, the less predictability there is of how one variable, that's the word I was looking for, can impact the end result. So does that make sense?
Yes, I thought it was an action you physically make yourself do. It was something we had to do, but what you're saying is it's something that we normally do in our normal life circumstances, how we respond to something, and that can have a ripple effect in the future.
Sure. How you respond to something and what you say or do in general. So it becomes the mind shift today is really a mind shift of mindfulness. It's recognizing that every single thing that we think and every single thing that we do, every single thing that we say has a ripple effect. And so we just try to become a little more mindful of that. It may be that the simplest of things. Growing up in a household maybe where a parent tells you when you do something that's not a good choice, that you're stupid. Oh, that was stupid, or you're so stupid, or having kids in school tell you, oh, you're so gay, or things like that. The ripple effect there is that it imprints upon that child's mind, and that child grows up believing that they're stupid, and they may not act out on it or speak to that effect and say that they're stupid, but maybe years later they're in counseling, and we find out that the reason they never really applied themselves in life, the reason maybe at 40 that they're still working at a McDonald's flipping burgers, is because when they were 6, and 7 and 8, they were told, you're stupid. And if I'm stupid, I certainly couldn't ever be an engineer. I certainly couldn't ever be an attorney. So it's mindfulness of those little sorts of things and the impact that they have on the future. It's also mindfulness on the physics of the world around us. That when we do things, I think Italians probably cause more thunderstorms than anyone else, because when we talk, we're always doing this, so we're stirring up the world. And if we're really angry, we create hurricanes because we're doing this. and this. So I look at it that way, and I'm sure that there's a million examples that we could use, but then to take that into your business, and what does that mean for your business, Ita, does have its implications in things like paying it forward. Because there's a great advertisement out, like a public service advertisement here in the United States. I don't know if it's made it to that side of the pond, but it's and I forget what it's for. It might be an insurance company or something where they're manipulating people's emotions. But the message is cool. Somebody drops something. We'll call it a dollar bill on the ground in a busy city, and somebody who's walking in the other direction sees it, picks it up, and gives it back to them. That person then feels so good about having just been, helped, that as they go further on their journey, you see them in the office, and somebody's trying to get in the door with hands full of books. They open the door for them. that person then feels so good that somebody did something nice for them that they do something nice in turn, and who does something nice in turn, and so on. And so you're paying it forward doesn't just have the benefit that, you know, certainly our leaders hope is that, you know, if you pay it forward, you do something nice for somebody. Maybe you give them in your case, you give them a certificate for a free wrap, and that makes them feel good, or something. I'll give you a great example in a moment. But it also has impacts that we don't know. That could just make that person's day, because nobody's ever done anything nice for them. I'll give you two examples, one in business and one in the real world, and how that had a dramatic impact on people's lives. My friend Deb is a nurse practitioner, and she's got her doctorate in nursing, and she's the head of wound care for a major hospital chain down, actually one of the country's largest hospital chains, down in Virginia. And Deb used to be with Beauty Control. And so she would go into schools primarily, but also to medical centers and hospitals, and she would do a spa day, like a spa day appreciation for the staff. And of course, it's something that Mary Kay originally started to teach, that it's part of the giving back to the community, and it sells a lot of product. But Deb would just do like Nurse Appreciation Day during Nurses Appreciation Week. She would probably spa 100 nurses, and just spend some time doing some, you know, a little skincare, some foot massage. For her, it was really all about the foot and hand massage, because that was a way of really connecting with and soothing people who are using their hands and standing on their feet all day to heal people. And it was her way of kind of healing back. And that had tremendous impacts on that. She would get letters that just were so moving about how, you know, nurses were ready to quit. They were ready to walk away from their careers, or school teachers were ready to give up. But because somebody took the time to thank them and to just soothe them for a few minutes, that it kind of sharpened their perspective, and they hung in there. A better example from me, and I guess I'll use this to kind of wrap up the day today, was, and I think I might have shared this story once before. It might not have been in this group, but I shared this story, I think, with a group before. Back in the 80s, I started doing a street meals program where we brought bagged lunches onto the streets in Washington, D.C., and Atlanta, and Phoenix, and Los Angeles, and then in South Florida and Miami Beach area. And it was probably the mid-90s when I had a yoga center, and I had one of the monasteries I was responsible for. So we had the monks and the yoga students taking these lunches out on the streets in Atlanta, and we would feed about 300 people a day on the streets. So there's a park in Atlanta called Woodruff Park, and that's where a lot of the homeless are in the downtown area. And this one particular day, it was in November, early November, so it was cold but not snowing yet. And there was an older black gentleman who was sitting on the wall of a fountain that was empty. You know, they emptied it because of they didn't want it to freeze over and all that. And his head was bowed down, his eyes were closed, and I went over to him and tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Sir, have you eaten yet?" The guy jumped up and said, "I'm sorry, I'm not sleeping. I'll move." And then I said, "No, I'm just asking if you've eaten yet." And again, he was apologizing and saying I wasn't just sleeping. I just had to stop for a minute. And I finally got his attention and said, "All I want to know is, have you eaten today? I've got some bagged lunches here, and we want to make sure that everybody's eaten. I know it's cold, and I know some people are hungry." And he said, "No, I haven't eaten." And he said, "Actually, I haven't eaten in a couple days." So I gave him a couple of the bagged lunches, and I sat down on the wall with him. And as I was talking to him, as is my custom, I had my hand on his shoulder as he was telling me his story, and I was, trying to let him know that first of all, I was listening. I really cared, and it was a sad story of how he came, because I always would say, "How have you come to be on the streets, if you don't mind my asking?" And you can certainly tell me it's none of my business. And so he told me his story about what happened, and he had become ill, and he was a former veteran, and I said, "Well, my hand's still on his shoulder, and I just want you to know that I'm really sorry. And I said, there's some resources that, that are on this paper. If you're, if you would like, I can leave this with you, shelter and all that, because we would ask them if they had a place to sleep. And the man, this is very emotional for me to repeat this part of the story, and it's been, over a decade and a half. But the man's eyes welled up with tears, and he said to me that I was the first person who's touched him in 2 years. And I still can't find words for that experience. Just to kind of wrap my head around what it would be like to not have human contact for 2 years. And we're not in, Nairobi. We're not in the middle of a jungle somewhere. This is in one of the busiest cities in North America. And yet this man hadn't had human contact in 2 years. I just can't conceive it. Well, that man told me that I changed his life by letting him know that somebody would care enough to touch him. And yes, he was disheveled and he had twigs in his hair, and I'm certain hadn't bathed in days or longer. But he was a human being. And while my little act of compassion might have had an impact on him that would have had a ripple effect on how he went about his day, it would have changed the world. I'll tell you more than that. His statement to me changed my life forever. Because my teacher would teach us, actually your picture's in the background there, would teach us there are no throwaway people. And I truly believe that, and I truly embrace that. But I never really thought until that day of just how many people out there have been thrown away by our society. And how, if not, bless you, if not for me, how that experience of feeling thrown away might not change for somebody. So when we do kind things for one another, when we take the time to listen, when we take the time to be present, we never know when that act of kindness, when that act of compassion, or that act of interest, it could literally change someone's life, could literally save someone's life. There are people right now who suffer from anxiety and depression, who suffer from any of a million different orders, PTSD, people who are sexual abuse survivors, and people who are pushed to the very edge. And your kindness, my kindness, our compassion and willingness to understand could be the single thing that keeps them from doing something drastic today. So I want to leave you guys with that today, that you can change the world, and in fact you have. The last 3 or 4 minutes that you heard will impact the way that you act in the world around you for years to come. And as a result of that, we will make this a better place. Guys, I love and appreciate you all, especially the two of you who consistently show up here on a daily basis. And for those who are watching who couldn't be with us live, I appreciate you as well. Stay in the moment. Be grateful for everything that you've got. And always remember, the best is yet to come. We'll talk soon.